Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Bobby, and hope you had a great weekend, and I hope that you have lots to look forward to today. Today's lesson is about something that's come up a couple or three times in the last, couple or 3 weeks, and that's usually how these lessons originate. I start talking about something, and I go, you know what, I don't think I've ever done a video on that. And this has to do with the proper loading so that you can deliver your hips powerfully into the golf shot, so that your hips can lead the swing. And that really is, in my opinion, if the grip is left out of the equation on the basis that your grip is correct, then undoubtedly the most important feature of a golf swing is the work accomplished in the hips. And as I say, that is the feature of the first-rate ball striker. And I don't mean just tour players. I don't mean that going for this is unrealistic because it's so far above you. No, we have players here with first-class swings. Ted Durdell, first-rate ball striker. Corey Freeland, definitely good in the area that I'm going to be talking about here. And that is effectively using the hips to start the downswing. Now, this gets away from people because it requires that you get into a position from which this correct downswing can flow most easily. In other words, if you're out of position, you can't do it. And so if you haven't loaded the legs properly, then it doesn't matter how much you know and understand about the sequencing on the downswing, you're already in a position from which it can't be accomplished. And so what is this? Well, here's the deal. You've got this is what makes a pivot hard in the beginning. You got really 7 parts. You've got a lower leg and a lower leg, that's 2. You got an upper leg and an upper leg, that's 4. You got right hip and left hip, that's 6. And then you've got a spine, that's 7. And all of those need to be kind of doing the right thing for you to pivot well. However, I have found that if you get one of those 7 pretty close to correct, that the other 6 will follow suit. The other 6 will typically be in a pretty good spot as well. And so you've got to be attendant upon one part in particular, and it has to do with this right femur. All right, not the right hip, the right femur. Now, what am I talking about? Well, you know, whoever engineered our body did a pretty good job, because look what we can do here. If you take your right arm out there, you can pronate it and supinate it with no problem without moving the elbow. You don't have to move the entire arm. You can do this independent. Well, the leg's sort of the same way, and that is I can take my thigh, stabilize it, yet still be able to internally and externally rotate the foot. Well, that would suggest that, again, I can stabilize the thigh and move the foot. That means if I stabilize the foot, I should be able to move the thigh. And that's what loading on the backswing does for you. Now, I'll have you do an experiment with me. Take your feet, put them both straight ahead, and put 60% of your weight on your right foot. And now, here's what you're going to be charged with doing. I want you to sprint in that direction. You don't have any kickoff, do you? You're not in a position from which you can spring that way. Now let's just do it. It's very slightly different, but you're going to feel an amazing difference in how much momentum you can create in a snap going that way. This time, stand 60-40, 60 right. Externally rotate your right leg. That is, if there's an arrow pointing straight out from my thigh, I want to get that arrow to point over here to 2 o'clock. Now go. You've got plenty of kick. You've got plenty of momentum. You loaded the right leg, and that's how the right leg is loaded. And you just can't imagine how many people are remiss in this way. They turn their hips because they think that's the same thing as turning the thigh, or maybe they just haven't thought about it at all. But look, I've turned my hips, but I didn't load the thigh. I don't have any momentum going this way. I need to not only turn the hip, but externally rotate that leg, and from there we have some push-off. And so that's the big deal. Let me just remind you that yes, the shoulders are turning back. Yes, the hips are turning. Those are both complements to this loading of the right leg. But you've got to make sure that in your shoe, you are doing what you can to twist that leg. Don't let the knee get past the heel. Don't let the hip get past the knee. There still needs to be an angle here. You can't get out here and do this. But make sure that this thigh rotates on the backswing, and from there you will have plenty of push off. And if I can ever do anything to help you, you let me know. I think that will be a big help. See you soon.